let you know before we get started. If you're new with us today, we want you to feel at home and know that this is a safe place to explore your faith and experience God. For us, church is so much more than just a weekend service, and we want you to know that there's a place perfect for you at Fountain Springs. One of the best ways you can get connected with us is to fill out the connection card in the seat back in front of you. Take that card out sometime during the service and fill out as much information as you feel comfortable sharing. And then, after the service, drop that card off at our Next Steps area for a gift that's our way to say we're glad that you've joined us today. And that's it. Later this week, one of our leaders will connect with you. An incredible way to stay connected with our community, receive incredible resources and opportunities, is by downloading our app. From events and workshops to message notes, sermons, and weekend set lists, you can find all you need in one place. Download the app today on any mobile phone app store. Fountain Springs Kids is dedicated to partnering with parents to lead children to become fully devoted followers of Christ. Through age-specific lessons, activities, and small groups, your children, 6 weeks to 5th grade, learn about biblical truths and real-life application. Don't miss this great opportunity to help your children learn more about God's love. Check out FS Kids this weekend. Wherever you are in life, you have a purpose. And we hope today we can help you along that journey through experiencing and connecting with God in a real and authentic way.
Well, hey guys, welcome to Fountain Springs. We're so glad you're here with us to help us start celebrating the Christmas season. If you would go ahead and stand with us as we sing some songs together. Help us out, put your hands together. Here we go. Let's try this clap out. Come on. There you go. Let's sing this out. He rules the world. He rules the world with truth and grace and makes the nations prove the glories of his righteousness and wonders of his love and wonders of his love and wonders of his love. Let heaven and nature say singing about his love together. Sing salvation sounds. Salvation sounds a new beginning. As distant hearts begin believing. Redemption's bid is unrelenting. Your love goes on. Your love goes on. Sing, you carry us. You carry us, carry us when the world is way. You cover us with your endless grace. Your love is relentless. Your love is relentless. Your love is relentless. Your love is relentless. The time is up for chasing shadows. You gave the world a light to follow. He's the only hope, a hope that shines beyond tomorrow. Your love goes on. Yeah. Your love goes on. Sing it out. You carry us when the world gives way. You cover us with your endless grace. Come on. Love is relentless. Love is relentless. Love is relentless. Love is relentless. Sing, tearing through the veil. Tearing through the veil of darkness. Breaking every chain, you set us free. Fighting for the furthest part, you gave your life for all to see. Tearing through the veil of darkness. Breaking every chain, you set us free. Fighting for the furthest part, you gave your life. Love is relentless. 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 Sing it out, come on. Love is relentless. Love Love is relentless. Yeah.
As we sing this next song, let us remember God's faithfulness. We don't have to be afraid because He's conquered all of our battles. Let's sing this out together. I have this confidence because I've seen the faithfulness of God. The still inside the storm, the promise of the shore. I trust the power of your word, enough to seek your kingdom first. Beyond the barren place, beyond the ocean waves. When I walk through the waters, I won't be overcome. When I go
Well, hey, every year around this time in this Christmas season, we take a special offering. And this year, our focus is the next generation and how kids matter. And so what we would love for you to do right now is to take a seat and watch the Macaulay's story of what God can do when we show that kids matter.
We met through a mutual friend. And the first time that my dad came up here, Mike asked him if he could marry me.
Yeah, we had been dating for 6 months, but had known each other for about a year prior to that. So for Dad, it was like I dropped him off at the hotel, and then something was just tearing at me. He's like, you do it now. And so I parked the truck, went back in, asked the hotel clerk, like, where's Randy Wallace staying at? She told me the room. I knocked on the door. He's like, what are you doing here? And I was like, I gotta ask you a question. And
when you know, you know.
I just knew. I was just committed, and I just knew.
So you've got kids. I mean, these are major life decisions, right? Getting married, you start the family, you've got kids. And so just based on what you guys are saying, there's some intentionality behind how you're parenting your kids. And you're a part of our church. Tell me, I'm curious, tell me about how you became a part of our church.
Our oldest son's godparents actually used to be Fountain Springers. They've moved to Minnesota. They actually brought us to Fountain Springs when it was just one location on the west side.
Yeah.
We kind of actually ended up stepping away for a while just because we weren't making God number one, if we're going to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And then a year or so ago, if not more, something was missing and we couldn't fill it, and there was a reason why something was missing, and it was just having church in our life.
And the east location
Yeah.
opened up, and that was really convenient for us, so we enjoy the east location for sure.
Do you put your kids in the kids ministry? I mean, are they in the kids ministry? Okay. Tell me about the first time you did that.
I walked in and, you check them in, you drop them off, but then I'm looking at the rooms and I'm like, this is way different than what I would have thought. There wasn't really a worry at that point. Oh, what's my kid gonna do for an hour?
The staff was amazing. Of course, Lindley was hesitant to go, but even after 1 or 2 times, she was all about it. So.
What would you say about the kids ministry? What would you say about the value to you? Is there value to it for you guys, for your kids?
If you look at it, once your kids start going to school, they're in somebody else's hands for 6.5, 7 hours, and you have no control over our morals and values actually being taught, or is it just 4 + 4? What is it? There's some fiber, there's some actual sustenance to what they're getting on Sundays. And then when they come back with a Bible verse, or 1 week it was a big giant whale, and they want to know that story, so then you can go to the little kids Bible we have and talk to them about it. It just gives you an avenue to pour into their life what the Bible says, because I'm not an expert on it.
Yeah, they're teaching our kids things that I'm still learning, so they can give them more in that area than I can right at this point in my faith. So, well, church fills my cup for the week. I have to have church. You can ask Mike. I get kind of cranky if we don't get to go to church for the week, so I get to focus. But my daughter just asked me yesterday, "Are we going to church?" So she's excited about it. The boys love it, so that means a lot to me.
Well, you serve too, and when you serve, that's the other
Yes.
piece of filling your cup too. And so it
Yeah.
gives her an opportunity to feel like she's doing something, connecting. She connects with our kids. It's not like she's absent, but that gives her another avenue to fill her own cup. It's huge.
And the kids actually want to stay. When I serve for the 11 o'clock, they want to stay for the second service. So they just love it.
There was some parts of my childhood that weren't a lot of fun. And one of the things that drives me is making sure my kids never go through that. So me as a person, I don't always have the answer, but I want my kids always to know they can come to me, they can talk to me. Together we'll find an answer, and then I'll always love them. And I want them to have a better life than what I have. And I want them to strive to be better and realize that every day there's something bigger out there. And where else do you find that but at a church?
Having that strong faith base is really important. I've really grown in my faith just this year, and it's completely changed me. So I want that for my kids.
Well, I love that story for a lot of reasons, and one of the things that just stands out as I watch that, and I've seen it a couple times now, is just the honesty of that the couple, the McCaulays, as they share about why it's intentional for them to be at church and the investment that the kids ministry is making, because they want the ultimate best for their kids, and we as a church want that to be a desire. It's our heartbeat, and that just kind of encompasses the intentionality of why we're doing what we're doing with this Kids Matters offering. And it's just vital for us as we engage this opportunity. This is a unique season. It's one of the things that we believe God is just kind of propelled in place for us to say, over the course of these next weeks, we're going to be focusing on this Kids Matter offering for a reason and a purpose. And we've honed in on some things. It's the idea of saying, okay, I know if I give, that's a part of my giving. This is an above and beyond gift to say, listen, I want to make an investment. I want to make an internal impact. And I believe it's vital for me to have a conversation with God about what that would look like to make an investment like that. And we've honed in on some things at our locations and other places that we really want to put our focus and attention with. And one of those things is over at East. I don't know if you've ever been over there. It's going great. We love it, but we've got so many kids, and some of you, the thought of so many kids just kind of makes your stomach turn a little bit. You're like, okay. But we love the idea and the reality that God is doing something amazing over there, and we need to make room for them. So we're going to be working on making some changes to accommodate the kids that are coming. We're going to be shifting around some rooms and making those available so kids can learn about Jesus. And here at West, we have some equipment issues. Every week we wonder and have questions. Is this going to work this week? Is this projector going to perform like it's supposed to? Because we want the gospel and who Jesus is to be clear to the kids that are impacted by it. And so we're going to need to replace some equipment and make sure that is taken care of so that we can have our volunteers not worry about what they're going to have to patch or what they're going to have to overcome in moments like that. But we don't want to be just about inside the church. We believe that as his church, he calls us to our community, and that's a heartbeat of ours, is being intentional with our community. And we know that outside of the walls of the church, there is an issue with foster care, and we want to begin to make an impact in that. And we believe there are so many avenues that go along with foster care, from Safe Families to Bethany and other organizations and ministries that are doing a great job, and we want to work at coming alongside them to help them out and to be a part of that. And that's part of where that's going to go, to begin to make a difference. Listen, we know that we can't do everything, but we're going to do something. And we believe that this Kids Matter offering is just one of those steps for us to see God do things and put kids first and to invest in the next generation, and it's vital. And so here in a minute, I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to pray. Maybe you thought, like, you were ready for this. You're like, whatever they're doing for offering, I'm in. But maybe you'd like to take a moment and pray and say, God, what would you have us do? How would you like us to invest and be a part of this Kids Matter offering this year? And you want to look at your spouse or just your family and say, what should we do as a family? And I think that's vital. I think you should have a conversation with God about that. But I also want you to pray for West this week. Pray for the volunteers. Pray for the individuals that invest every week. Pray for the kids that come and get to hear about Jesus and who he is and how he wants to impact their life. And take a moment to just spend some time praying over those things. And then I'm going to come back in a minute. We'll close our time and we'll go from there. So go ahead and take a moment just right now. Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for the opportunity that we have even right now to just pause and say thank you so much for volunteers that give of their time and their energy each weekend to invest in kids and be a part of what we believe God is doing as we do our very best to show kids who Jesus is, to let them know that they're loved, to let them know that there's a God that loves them and has a plan for them and cares about them so much. And God, that's exciting to us. But we want to do it with excellence, and we want to do it with the best of our ability. So help us as we grow and as we desire to be intentional and be just all about kids in this moment and this time. God, thank you for your faithfulness, your love. Continue to be with us as we meet, and that you would get all the honor and glory. Thanks for loving us that much, God. You're amazing. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Christmas Eve is just around the corner, so be sure to reserve your seats for one of our services across both locations on December 20th, 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. This time of year can mean so much for so many here in the Black Hills. It can be a perfect time to invite one of your friends, family, or coworkers to join you here to help them start growing in a relationship with Jesus. We hope you and someone dear to you will join us as our family shares Christmas Eve services together. David, our lead pastor, will be up shortly to share today's message. So if you've checked your child into our kids ministry, be sure to have your phone on vibrate just in case they need to get a hold of you. Also, if you have a child with you and they're getting a bit restless, we have a room just off the lobby where they can roam around freely and you can still share in our experience with us. Thank you to all of you who serve weekly, give generously, and pray consistently. God truly is using you to make an impact as we all go through life together, showing the Black Hills who Jesus is.
Christmas time. I know for some of you, you're like, oh no. Some of you are excited. Some of you have been listening to Christmas music all year long. We don't like you. You're welcome. You're welcome to be here. Just really struggle with that. Christmas is fun, but there's expectations, are there not? You know, when you come into the season, whether it be the people you're going to be around, the food you're going to eat, the presents you're going to get, or where we're going to end up being, or maybe it has to do with other things. But most of us walk into Christmas with expectations at a really high level. They really get revealed when you start doing traditions. I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but we had a bit of an issue this year in our family putting up the Christmas tree. It was someone's fault, but the Christmas tree was decorated and began to fall over, and ornaments falling off and breaking. It was that kind of a moment. Not good. And if you're like me, I have an interesting personality where I'm curious if my problems are other people's problems too. So what you do is you go to YouTube to find this out. And I went to YouTube to find out, has this happened to other people? And it has. And it was therapeutic, so I thought I'd share it with you. Get out of the tree. Oh. Did you notice how many cats were involved? I just want to point that out. I didn't even make that video. You know, Christmas, your expectations are there, but oftentimes when you go about doing the stuff that you're planning on doing, you got something in your mind of what it's supposed to look like and feel like, but then it doesn't play out that way. In fact, here's what I know. Some of us understand that this is not just about Christmas, this is about real life. Or some of you are coming into Christmas, and it's very difficult for you. Because this year, what you thought would be with you, who you thought, where you would be, what you would be around, it's not true, it's not happened. And so now Christmas, you're like, what do I even do with this? Everyone else seems happy. Everyone else seems like it's going well, but do they know what's going on inside of my heart? So we're going to talk about that. I don't think it's going to be depressing for those of you like, really? We're going to talk about that at Christmas? Here's what I want this series to be about. It's a question. What do we do when life doesn't go our way? And I think what's interesting, many of us are like, well, we ignore it. we pretend like we're totally cool with it. You ever been there? Where someone comes up to you and like, hey, how are you doing? Inside, you're like, you do not want to know. But what comes out of your mouth? I'm good. I'm fine. And see, then you and I, whether you like it or not, begin to live a fake version of life. And I'm not going to make you raise your hand, but I do not think that any of us want to be a part of a fake group of people in a fake church. So we've got to have a conversation about stuff that I'm not sure that you would bring up on your own. So a part of my role is to bring it up. It's going to be fun. We're going to talk about the Christmas story. And many of us right now, though, life's not gone our way. And our hearts are broken. Or maybe one day your heart will be broken. Do you know what the Christmas story is all about? Heartbreak. In fact, before Jesus shows up, do you know there was something foretold about him, prophesied about him, written about Jesus before he ever showed up? There was many things, but I want to show you something that's really cool. The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is upon me. For the Lord has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. This is about Jesus before Jesus ever shows up. He has sent me to comfort the brokenhearted and to proclaim that captives will be released and prisoners will be freed. I want you to really focus in on this second half. He has sent me. It's about Jesus. Let me give you some more history behind this. When Jesus is born, he grows up, he eventually lands, he's in church one day. Yeah, Jesus went to church. He was in church. And it appeared to be his day to read the Bible. That was a part of their worship where a person would read the Bible. Now, their version of the Bible, a little bit different than ours. We have a book that's all compiled into one, or we have a phone where it's all in there. They had scrolls. Each book was on a scroll. They hand a scroll to Jesus, and he unravels the scroll, finds his place. Where is he going to read? I wonder if they were all interested. Where is he going to read? What's he going to read? Jesus. He read this. He has sent me to comfort the brokenhearted. He concludes his reading saying, guess what? I just made this happen. It's me. This is fulfilled. Do you understand that Christmas is not just about a baby being born? I know most of you, I know. There's a whole nativity scene, David. It's bigger than that. Jesus came to earth according to what he even read himself to heal our broken hearts. Do you even notice in there where it talks about prisoners in captivity? I don't believe he was being literal, because we know that when Jesus arrived, not all the jail cells opened up and everyone was freed. He was talking about our souls, our hearts. And if you're like, well, what's the big deal? Here's what I would conclude. I'm not overgeneralizing. Most of us have unresolved heartache. Whether you admit it or not, I know most of us are like, no, I'm good. I'm good. Do you understand that Christmas is so much better than a story about a baby? It's about your very heart and how much God loves you so much that he's been paying attention to your broken heart. Now, I know we grow up in a society now, you're like, you know what, David, but everyone has heartache, right? And you just move forward. You just keep going. You hide it, you suppress it, you medicate it, you just keep moving forward. And I'm not a psychiatrist, just that's a disclaimer for those of you who ever think I am not. But I will make an observation that I think is important. If you ignore what hurts, you will never stop hurting. I know that to be a fact. If you ignore it, do you know that ignoring it does not make it go away? I know, like, I'm trying to make it go away. By ignoring it, it doesn't do that. It just stays there. sometimes even gets worse. And the Christmas story, although it is full of peace, we'll talk about that, and joy, that's amazing. But in order to have real peace and real joy, not to fake it, okay? If you want to fake it, just fake it. If you want to have it real, where you don't have to be down every single day, you don't have to be depressed about everything in life. If you want to, like, for real feel peace and joy, you can't ignore what hurt you. So here's what we're going to do with the series. At first, it will seem very depressing. Here's the categories. Here's what we're going to go after. We're going to talk about loss, anger, and regret. I'm very sorry. I think we'll have fun. But if you'd like to know what's in my brain about what I want to do, here's the gift that I want to give you for Christmas. It's not a new iPhone, although that would be cool. I want you to wake up on Christmas with real peace. If you're interested, let's talk about this stuff. So let's pick loss. That's the first one on the list. That's how this works. We're talking about loss. I wondered if we understood like what the word means. So let me show you by definition the word lose. To come to be without. To suffer the deprivation of. Here's what I find fascinating. We have losses in our life. We lose things. And we kind of say, well, next time, right? I'll win next time. Well, that's not a bad thought. That's good to have optimism. But sometimes if we think so much about the future, we don't deal with what just happened. And that's what I'll tell you. Many of you right now are experiencing this, or you will someday, to come to be without someone, something. What's your plan? I mean, do you understand that all of us have experienced loss in some way? I mean, you can look around if you want. You just need to know that every single one of us has walked through life and we have lost someone or something and it hurt really bad. And the Christmas story is a gift to us. Do you know the Christmas story is full of loss? It's so depressing if you look at it right. But you got to look at it right. It's so messed up. And if you don't believe me, I thought, well, let's just walk through this depressing time together. So here we go. Joseph, to whom she was engaged, if you don't know the story, let me briefly. There's Joseph and Mary. They're engaged. Now, they're engaged at a level you and I do not understand engagement, because back then when engagement happened, it was like basically legal. To get out of an engagement, you had to get divorced. Nowadays, you give the ring back, you don't follow each other anymore on Instagram, and you're like, we're done. Back then, you were engaged, it was locked in. And Mary says, hey, I know we're engaged, I know I am your fiancé, but I'm having a kid and it's not yours. We read this as Christians oftentimes going, that's so beautiful. She's going to give birth to Jesus. Do you understand what Joseph was thinking? Like, this is not my plan. In fact, Joseph, to whom she was engaged, was a righteous man and did not want to disgrace her publicly, so he decided to break the engagement quietly. Other versions say he decided to divorce her quietly. Let's not skip over the fact the beginning of the Christmas story has just Joseph going, I'm out. I'm out. Why do you decide to be out? It's because your heart's broken. That's why. That's why you do that. Don't miss that. See, many of us are wondering, does God see my broken heart? Oh, yeah, and he gets it. He gets it. There's more depressing stuff. Let's just stay here for a while. At that time, the Roman Emperor Augustus decreed that a census should be taken throughout the Roman Empire. This is what I read to our kids at the very beginning. Every Christmas morning, wake them up. It's good. Well, actually, some of them, they get up. And so then we gather up, and they're not allowed to open up a present till we read the Christmas story. I do it to torture them. You might think I'm doing it because I'm trying to be spiritual. No, it's just like, okay, we're going to gather. We got to know the reason for the season, right? So, and most of us, when we read the Christmas story at Christmas, we start with Luke chapter 2, and we read this part, and we're like, who cares? Joseph and Mary and Jesus would have cared. At this time, they were minorities. They had no voice whatsoever. They were oppressed financially. They were overtaxed. They were given no opportunities. And I don't want you to miss the fact that the whole story then begins to unfold, that they are living in an oppressive time. That's a loss. That's bad. And there's more bad. She gave birth to her firstborn son, wrapped him snugly. How cute is that? The word snugly. It's in the Bible. Snugly in strips of cloth and laid him in a manger because there was no lodging available for them. Again, I know you know the story. You're like, heard that, I know that. No big deal. Oh, really? How do you do when you show up to a hotel and they canceled your room? It's on video, just so you know however you react. Most of us are not cool with that. Even to amplify the whole thing is, where would you like to have a child? In a very clean, sterile hospital or around a bunch of animals? Some of you just chose animals, and that's weird, and I can't help you with that. But most of us are saying we want it to be with nurses and doctors and a nice room. And can we just admit this was a loss? Let me help you. Have you ever done something for God? You ever listened to God? God asked you to do something, you did it, and it feels like he didn't help you along the way. God's like, hey, Mary and Joseph, you are going to raise the Son of God, and he doesn't even get him a hotel room. I'd call that a loss. After the wise men were gone, everyone packs up, right? An angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream. Get up, flee to Egypt. I know you have a newborn, but flee to Egypt with the child and his mother. The angel said, stay there until I tell you to return, because Herod is going to search for the child to kill him. So not only did they just have a new baby around a bunch of animals, now it's time to run for their lives. That's a loss. If you think we're done with the depressing stuff, let me just show you one more. They go to have Jesus dedicated, not baptized, dedicated at church. New baby. And Simeon blessed them. Oh, cool, blessing. And he said to Mary, the baby's mother, this child is destined to cause many in Israel to fall, and many others to rise. He has been sent as a sign from God, but many will oppose him. As a result, the deepest thoughts of many hearts will be revealed. And just so you know, a sword will pierce your very soul. Thanks for coming to church today. Do you see how dark the Christmas story can be if you pay attention? Have you ever wondered if God is aware of the losses you've encountered in your life? Have you ever wondered if God cares about, does he love you? Does he want to do anything about your hurts and your losses? Yes. And I'd say he's experienced them as well. We do get this was for his son. And I know most of us are still thinking very South Dakota. We're like, David, everyone goes through this. You just got to, this is character building. Right? I'm, again, not a psychiatrist, but I'll give you an observation. Even though pain is normal, healing is still critical. And many of us are like, yeah, it's normal because it's normal. Well, just keep going. No, you got to heal it. And some of us have chosen to not heal from our losses in our lives. If you want to know, well, how does that affect me? I thought you might ask. I thought I'd show you a short list. There's a longer one, but loss of appetite, that sounds absolutely miserable to me. Inability to concentrate, inability to sleep. I'm describing some of you right now. Inability to maintain relationships. You ever met someone who can't have a romantic relationship for more than a month or two? And you're like, why can't they do that? Oftentimes it's because they have pains, losses in their lives that they have not healed from, and they bring it into a relationship, and eventually it implodes. Boiling anger. Boiling anger. Most of us know an angry person. Do not nudge that angry person at this moment. But most of us understand boiling anger. I want to offer a little bit of sympathy here, though. Whenever you meet an angry person, typically in a parking lot or while you're driving, just a little sympathy here. I can tell you why they're angry. I don't even know them. Because they're hurt somewhere. It's unresolved. And then anger is grown. New addictions often happen when you have an unresolved loss, where you start to medicate that pain and you find yourself in a whole new world of addiction. This is just some of them. Here, let me summarize it. Unresolved loss can create new losses. That's a reality of life. That's why you and I need to have this conversation right now as we go into Christmas, because I don't want you hurting yourself more or losing out on life. I wonder if you've ever lost out on life, celebrating life because it hurt so bad because of what happened in the past. I've been there. I thought I'd help the situation. Let me tell you my own life. In 2003, we welcomed our first kid into this world. I remember the whole pregnancy. I was reading books because I had no idea what to do. Anyone else? Okay, I'm the only one who bought books. Okay, cool. I mean, I was going like books. I was calling my parents like, hey, no, I don't know what to do. Just so you know, full disclosure, I was at the hospital. Nurse looks at me, hey, Dad, would you like to change his first diaper? I'm like, I have no, sure, but you're going to have to show me. I had never changed a diaper until that moment in my life. Well, I enjoyed the pregnancy. Katie had it was tougher on her for some reason, but for me, I just thought it was awesome. It was great. I have lots of memories about that pregnancy, lots of them. In 2008 and 2012, we welcomed in our home Ellie, our only daughter, and then our youngest, Titus. I can't tell you anything about those pregnancies. I'm not lying to you. I don't remember them. See, what happened after Hayden was born, we tried to have more kids and couldn't. Multiple miscarriages. I remember being at church one night and Katie called me and told me that we had just lost the baby. It still blows my mind how connected you can be to someone you've never met. I've never been more overwhelmed as I saw my wife in so much pain and grief, and I didn't know what to do. Well, what I did with that loss was this. I decided that if we ever get pregnant again, I'm not going to celebrate until that kid is born. I thought that if I ignored the pain, it would go away and I would protect myself. Maybe you've been there before, where you're like, I've experienced this pain, so I'm just going to be the pessimist for the rest of my life. I'm going to think the worst, and maybe the best will happen, but I'm going to think the worst. And that's what I did. I did not ignore Katie through this time. I just denied and did not celebrate the fact that we were expecting a blessing from God. And I regret it. And in fact, you want to know more of the ugly, I'll tell you, we had friends in the process of as we were trying to get pregnant, they got pregnant, and I had to fake celebrating them. Because I had unresolved loss in my heart. I was ignoring it, trying to pretend like, oh, that just happened. It happens to lots of people, so just keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. And I found myself never satisfied. I don't know if you've ever been there, but maybe that connects with you. And if you're never satisfied, oftentimes that's a hint that you have unresolved loss. And I decided I'm not going to live this way anymore. No way. I didn't want to be an angry person. I didn't want to not be able to sleep, and so I had to get some help. I talked to people who could professionally help me, and I talked to some spiritual leaders in my life, like, help me walk through this. And I began to walk through this and actually find myself healed. I was no longer ignoring it. And it was a victory in my life, not a lot that I've talked with you about, but really had a victory of resolving this loss in my life. And it's amazing. You wonder, so okay, now I get to enjoy the blessings in life, right? Now it's a great time. It's fascinating what God does with these moments. Because sometimes he blesses you in ways you did not expect. Like baby number 4. Yeah? Yeah? So, some of you are like, how's that possible? Well, that's not a sermon on that. I'm not 95 years old for some of you who want to put me into that category. I'm driving across South Dakota. I took our daughter on a road trip. Showed her skyscrapers for the first time in Chicago. Just had a great time. We're around Chamberlain, and Katie calls, hey, you need to pull over. Why? The car is fine. No, you need to pull over. I'm like, ugh. All right, I'll gas up in Chamberlain, pull over in Chamberlain. She sends me a picture. I am literally putting fuel into the car, going, oh, one of our friends is expecting a baby. And like I told you, I've healed. I'm like excited. Cool. Then she calls, she's like, hey, that's ours. I'm like, no way. And some of you now are like, David, you do know how that happened? Yes, I know how this happened. And I'm excited. I'm not rejecting the reality. I'm sharing it with you. I'm excited. And I thought you and I as a church should have this moment together because I wonder if some of you are not excited about life. And you're like, how in the world do I get healed? Well, Jesus said he came to heal our broken hearts, but he said something else that has been so profound in my life. I'll show it to you. God blesses those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Let me help you read this verse. If you want comfort, if you don't want to fake it, if you want comfort, you need to mourn. And you're going to need God's help to mourn. See, okay, pastor's perspective. Of course, I spend time with people in the loss of someone they love. I got to tell you what's going on in our nation. It's really bad. Fewer people are going to funerals. And folks are even deciding not to have funerals so they don't have to face it. We do not mourn very well. We don't. If you want to ever travel the world, many other people do it so amazing. In fact, they mourn so well, you and I see these pictures and videos and think they're crazy when they're actually healthier than we are. Because they're mourning. They're letting what they feel, what they're processing, they let it out. Mourn. If you want comfort, you must mourn. So here's another reality check. Loss is unavoidable, but mourning is a choice. Will you choose it? Will you choose it? I don't know. I could take you through maybe a mourning process. I can help you say, well, if I want to mourn, how do I go about mourning my loss? Or losses, actually. Well, I'll give you a couple steps. List your losses. At first you're like, no way. No, I'm not going to do that. That sounds like one of the most depressing things you could ever do, especially as we go into Christmas. Like, so we go to church for the first time, and the pastor gets up, talks about some sad stuff, says, I need to go list all the stuff that's bad happened to me. Yeah. Katie and I just got back from a marriage retreat. Now, some of you are going to interpret that, oh, David and Katie are not doing well. Do not spread rumors. We're doing great, and we want to continue to do great. So we went and spent some time at a retreat, and the retreat leader brought this up. I'm like, really? Just so you full disclosure. Make a list, man? Maybe how some of you respond to me right now, like, make a list. Sure hope that's good for some other people. So I was like, okay, I'll make a list. He's like, but you got to make a list this way. He's like, oh, now you're giving me rules. I don't want rules. He's like, here's the rules to the list making. You need to get several pieces of paper, and each paper will represent a time in your life. Preschool. It's like, preschool. We're starting early. Got it. Elementary. Middle school. You're tracking. High school. So I did. I made the sheets of paper, sat by myself, and got a pen, and I'm shocked at what I wrote. Shocked. Before I began, I asked God, I bet I've forgotten some things. I need your help remembering some things. I'm going to make this list, and I began to make my list. And each paper got a longer list. I made my list. It's been one of the most profound experiences of my entire life. It was not depressing, it was freeing. Because many of us, it's a mess in our heads. You need to make a list. But don't just make a list, you need to lament your losses. It's where you take the list and you begin to talk to God about the list, but you lament them. Now, I know we don't yes, I use that word all the time, lament. Let me give you a definition. Lament, a passionate expression, passionate expression. That's so polished for church. A passionate expression. Screaming your face off. Using ugly words. Telling them how you really feel. That's what this is. A passionate expression of grief to whom? To God. Not your spouse. Not your friend. To God. Where you like, here you go. Here's how I feel. I made this list. Pastor's a jerk. He made us make this list. And so now you're telling God, you let this happen. Why'd you let this happen? This hurt. And you lament to God. You express this to God. Did you know this is an act of worship? You're like, wait a minute. It does not have to be poetic. But anytime you go to God and you are trusting Him with passionate expression, it's worship. You know there's a whole book in the Bible called Lamentations? And you're like, now that's lament. That's what they are. That's why you and I don't wake up in the morning going, you know what I want to read this morning? Lamentations. Let me give you an example, should you be tempted. The Lord has treated my mighty men with contempt. Thank you. No, he's being real honest. Like, God is treating my men, my military, with contempt. At His command, at God's command, a great army has come to crush my young warriors. The Lord has trampled His beloved city like grapes are trampled in a winepress. That's very honest and not very happy. List your losses, lament your losses, but let's not forget about where we started. Do you remember what Jesus read when He was in church? I'll remind you. He has sent me to comfort the brokenhearted and to proclaim that captives will be released and prisoners will be freed. Here's my assertion. If you have unresolved loss in your life, you are a prisoner, a captive, and you are left in this brokenheartedness state of life. That's where you're at. Whether you like it or not, whether you agree with me or not, I'm right. And Jesus came to heal you. The list is important. And lamenting Him is important. That's just from the Bible. It's good wisdom. It's so true. You list it and you lament it. But don't forget the most critical part. Ask God to heal your broken heart. I think that's where it starts. Ask God to heal your broken heart. So here's what we're going to do. I don't know how you feel about this, but here's what we're going to do. I'm about to pray for you. I'm going to pray for you and ask God to intervene in your life and help you be healed of your losses. But here's what I'd like us to do. I grew up in a church where oftentimes the pastor, my dad, would gather and say, hey, all right, the altar is now open. And if you're like, what are you talking about? That meant that the front of the stage, people were welcome to come to the front and kneel down and have some time with God. You're not bowing to anything on the stage. You're physically just kneeling in front of God, in the presence of God. And it was called an altar call, or the altar was open. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pray. And then we're going to sing, I think, a very powerful song. But if you have loss in your life that you would like God to heal you of, while I pray, or during the song, you are welcome to come up to the front here and kneel down and have time with God. That does not make you more spiritual. Some of you will just want to stand up and have it where you're at. Some of you want to kneel where you're at or just sit where you're at. You're invited to take whatever posture you want, but I wanted us to be in a moment where you knew that the altar is open. Okay? All right. Let me pray for you. God, I know that you have led us into this conversation where Christmas is connected to our losses and our heartaches. So God, I ask in the name of Jesus that you would begin to heal our heartache, our hearts that are broken, that are full of maybe worry or anxiety, pain, grief. God, whatever we're wrestling with in the sense of we don't have who or what we should. God, would you begin to do a work in our soul? Would you begin to help us have healing go on? God, I pray for those who have lost a relationship, a marriage, a boyfriend or girlfriend, or for those who the job, it's not played out like it should have played out. For those who are financially struggling and they're dealing with that loss, maybe it's one of their kids that's just making it difficult in the family and difficult on themselves. God, whatever the loss is in our lives, would you begin in this moment to begin the healing process? God, we love you. Thank you for coming to earth to heal our broken hearts. We pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Are you hurting and broken within? Overwhelmed by the weight of your sin? Jesus is calling. Have you come to the end of yourself? Do you thirst for a drink from the well? Jesus is calling. Oh, come to the altar. The Father's arms are open wide. Forgiveness once bought with the precious blood of Jesus Christ. Leave behind your regrets and mistakes. Come today, there's no reason to wait. Jesus is calling. Bring your sorrows and trade them for joy. From the ashes, a new life is born. Jesus is calling. Oh, come to the altar. The Father's arms are open wide. Forgiveness was bought with the precious
don't want this moment to end. And if you feel like you need to receive prayer still, we just want to invite you to come forward. And also, if you made the decision to follow Jesus for the first time today, we would love to walk through that decision with you and what that next step looks like in your life. And so if you would, find the next steps area today on your way out, and someone will walk you through that next step. Well, we love you guys. We hope you have a great week. We'll see you next time.